Hello and welcome back. My name is still human Shojaee, and I'm here in the tent this time. And I look forward to this talk. We were supposed to be three. We have three guests. We have two guests. We're still three, and we're gonna talk about bacteria and how bacteria can save us all. It's a kind of a topic that I have not so much knowledge about, that I look so much forward to learning from you, Søren, Ejlersen from Aarstiderne, and Mads Bjørnvad, right? From Novozymes. Fantastic. I started with a framework of how bacteria can save us all, but I would actually start asking you to present yourself, a little bit about your company, and find your way into the theme. And within each of you would have about 3, 4, 5 minutes to do that. Søren, can we start with you?
I'm Søren, known as a chef or an entrepreneur. I'm 54 years old, and before I worked with building restaurants, green restaurants, mostly in Denmark, but also at the World Exhibition in Seville in '92, a lot of years, a long time ago. Plant-based kitchen there. When I came back to Denmark, I rented 35 hectares of biodynamic land and bought a tractor. That's by coincidence, and that became my next green road.
When was that?
That was in '98. A year after, I was inspired by a farmer in Jutland, Thomas Hartung. And a year after, we founded a company called Aarstiderne. And it has been an incredible journey since that decision. I think we deliver, 5,000 pallets a week with food in wooden boxes and cool boxes with the ingredients for meals. 350,000 meals a week with fully organic. Everything is organic, very local, both local but also South Europe. In the company we have had an 80-20 vision where 80% of the plants of the diet should be kilocalories should be from plants. So we are very plant driven, and that was a challenge. Could you imagine 20 years ago? Today we kind of have seen that people, they accept it. At the same time, we have a B2B part of the business that, for instance, works closely together with the burger restaurants, Sticks and Sushi, Jensen Beef House. Could you imagine 28 beef houses going organic, going more plant-driven? We work with hospitals with fermented food. We work with a lot of canteens and other stuff to help them go greener.
How big are you now?
We are kind of an, I guess, 700-800 million revenue. I think on the payroll there's 500-600 people. So it's a pretty big.
And today's a special day, isn't it?
Yeah, today's a special day. I do two other things. I invented a school garden system 17 years ago that now are present 150 places in Denmark, called Haver til Maver, Garden to Bellies, in 22 municipalities, teaching, I guess, we don't count them, but I guess 20,000 kids a year grow a garden and make food out of the result. That's the project I love the most, and I can't figure out how the government doesn't go with us. Yeah. We just do it ourselves. Then the third thing is Spanegården, just under the tunnel over here. That's a new project with Thomas and me, again, starting from scratch. It's not Aarstiderne, not Haver til Maver. I spent the entire last year over there, cleaning up and starting building projects. It's a huge project where we actually take all our dreams and put them in an urban place, like inventing a new kind of a city. And today we're opening a restaurant there. So we step by step open nurseries, green restaurants, education sites for kids and 500 square meters greenhouses and a big green impact environment with the 3,000 square meters at the first floor where people with startups could join forces.
So it's going to be a startup community as well?
Yeah.
For food or?
Yeah, it's a lot of startups that rent place there, and we help them get funding and coach them in a lot of directions.
Ooh, that sounds good. So, what kind of startups?
Oh, it could be food. It could be supply chain. It could be one of the ones we have invested in is called a grain that takes malt, from beer production.
Yeah.
And grain it, dry it, and grain it into flour, and the juice you could make soft drinks out of them. It could be we talk to a lot that spares water from farming sites. It could be compost facilities. It could be also tech, but good tech. I think there's a lot of bad tech out there. Tech that actually helps. So
awesome.
That's me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Mads, you represent a bigger company, right?
Yeah.
You
definitely.
also all know, very well known in Denmark. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm proud to be here, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm representing Novozymes. So we're the world's largest provider of microbial solutions, actually. So everything we do is based on microbes. It could be bacteria or microfungi. And we are mainly known for producing enzymes that is being used throughout the world for many applications. And we all know it from our laundry detergent. So to get rid of some of the chemicals and still keep a high active powder or liquid for washing your detergent, we add enzymes that we've developed. So it boosts the activity, and also it brings the temperature down that is needed to wash the clothes. So you can do it at 20 or 30 degrees with the same strong cleanliness. So that's one of our big markets, of course, enzymes. And enzymes for laundry, and another aspect is enzymes used for making bioethanol. So this is where when we buy gas here in Denmark, there's an E5, E10, meaning there's 5% or 10% bioethanol in it. And that's produced by microbes again. And our enzymes or microbes are involved with that process. Last year we sold for that enzymes and microbes for this process to bring down 49 million tons of CO2 was lowered because of these products. So that's equivalent to taking 20 million cars off the roads. So that's quite an impact that our small enzymes have, and biological solutions. So, and my background, I'm a chemical engineer. So why am I working with biology? Well, it's always been my passion since I was a little kid. In the Danish television, you could actually work with biology and learn to work with biology and find out in nature what the solutions are. And that's actually a dream come true when I'm working for Novozymes, because we actually have a saying, our purpose is to find biological solutions for better lives in a growing world. So that matches very well what I would like to bring to the world, those solutions. So that's what we do every day in research and business, to study the complexity of biology and bring it into play to create sustainable green solutions that is built on nature's solutions. So we work a lot with enzymes, but we also work a lot with the microbes, and not only sell the enzymes, but selling the microbes to be used for various purposes. And one important aspect here is agriculture. So a lot of our crops that we grow in the land are attacked by fungal infections, mold and mildew and other infections. And if we spray on a bacteria that can attack or keep away those fungal diseases, you can actually control it, and you don't lose your crop. So that's a product we sell that contains a unique microbe for doing that. Keep the fungi away. And for animals, there's also, we have microbes that they eat. Chickens, for example, can eat these through their food, and then go into their gut and stabilize their gut, make a healthy gut, so they can better utilize the food they get and grow to be a stronger bird. So that's the animal health, the bioag field that we are very strong in, with actual wild-type microbes like the ones that Søren is working with. And then for our next journey, the next many years, will be human health, because that's also a big, important topic. So one of the big issues in the world is infections with bacteria that are multi-resistant against any antibiotics. So that's a problem that we believe we can fight with the right microbes to clean up the environment, or in hospitals or in your kitchen and so forth, keep those microbes away. And we actually have a cleaning product on the market that contains our microbes that becomes part of your kitchen table. So they stay there and they are still active and fighting whatever is there and take away the grease and so forth. So it's an active cleaning process. So that's
it's
pretty
a BI. It's not an AI, it's a BI.
It's a BI, yeah.
All right.
So that's
fantastic. Cool. And how big is your small business?
So the micro business or the total business?
No, it's Novozymes.
Novozymes. I think our revenue is about 17, 18 billion Danish kroner every year. Well, it's pretty sizable. Yeah.
And how has the growth path been for you?
So it's been flat the last couple of years. So we are changing gears. It's looking good this year after the Corona lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's looking good. And also we have a strong strategy for the human health. We just acquired 2 new companies. Yeah. One in Ireland, one in the US, that actually brings out new probiotics that is for your gut, your skin, your mouth, and it's some of the traditional bacillus strains, but also some of the new bifido strains that can actually talk with your body, communicate, be part of your gut, communicate with your body, your brain, stabilize things, make sure your immune system is ready and not overreacting, and securing you have a healthy body. So that's going to be a very important driver for our success in the future.
Fantastic. I'm very happy because I'm very pleased because it's actually one of the reasons why we are doing this, because we want to bring the diversity within the field together. And we have an entrepreneur and we have a corporate, established big corporate here with us talking about the same topics. I'm really looking forward to your thoughts. Not so many know that Denmark is actually quite in front when it comes to working with bacteria and fermentation, right? Can you tell us where we are compared to other regions? Is that correct that we are in a hub, in a leading position, or?
Yeah, maybe I can start from the industrial perspective. Definitely, the academia, the universities, the research they do and have done for the last 50 years is top notch of the world within the molecular biology, microbiology understanding of that. So that's one in part that actually drives the startups, the large corporation, all that. Those researchers, they join us and be part of our journey. And then on the microbial side, the business with Christian Hansen, Novozymes, Novo Nordisk, the way they produce pharma products is also based on microbes and the microbiology. So we have for many years been on a long journey and establishing a lot of high profile and successful businesses. So we are strong, both research-wise, business-wise, and production-wise. So definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I would say I'm mostly into the food universe, of course, and like as a chef, I worked partly with it many years ago, making a tiny bunch of kraut, etc. My mother did kombucha when I was a kid, etc. But in the restaurant world of food business, it's actually, if you have been to Noma or Relais or wherever they served 3 or 4 servings where fermented stuff appears, but nobody understands what it is. And not many people actually understand that when you brew a beer or wine, etc., coffee, fermentation is part of the process. So it is many places where you don't talk that much about it. But for me, it was kind of a coincidence. Now and then I travel, not much, but when I fly for a reason. Did that for many years. 7 years ago, I spent 3 weeks in San Francisco and Santa Cruz, and I digged into the fermentation world. Inside San Francisco, there are tiny businesses that ferment. But when I met Catherine at the farmhouse culture in Santa Cruz, my eyes opened, because she had 40 Mexicans making kraut and kimchi and gut shots, etc. And she ended up inviting me home for dinner, and I met her son. Her son is named Shane, he became my little brother. He traveled to Denmark and lived with my family, first for 3 months making this book, and taught me to ferment. This is kind of what my kitchen looked already after a week. So imagine what it looked like after 3 months. And that made me open my eyes into this world, but also that it doesn't appear anywhere in the supermarkets. All food is actually dead. Like, you can't find a piece of kraut or kimchi. Now you can here 7 years later, but it's very expensive. So first I did this book. When Shane traveled home, I would show him that I actually understood what we did. So I made a very complex fermentation book with like a chef's eye on fermentations with a modern kitchen. And then I haven't got it here, but I also made a third book just to show that I actually mean it. Fermentation is the shit. And today, actually, we have a fermentation site inside Aarstiderne, 600 square meter, where we ferment up to 12 tons a week of plants, Moroccan lemons, kimchi, Indian lime pickles, whatever. For instance, when it's Wednesday, we have like, I guess, 30,000 square meters cooled. It's a lot of plants going through into the boxes. And when they are done with all the boxes, there's always 1 or 2 or 3 pallets of tomatoes and cabbage and cucumbers, and we ferment it. So it's kind of we had 1% of food waste, and that's actually almost going into the barrels now. Isn't that
Fantastic.
Yeah. There's still a little meat and fish that is hard to work with. We sell it for canteens and a lot of stuff, but most of our leftovers actually fermented and ends up in the boxes a week or 3 months later. But it's still very early days in Denmark in general in people's understanding of the fermented food world. But it's actually what I love the most with being a chef and being part of Aarstiderne or the kid universe. Today, 50 kids have been fermenting at Banegården. That's average level at Banegården and in the school gardens, etc. So I try to sneak it in everywhere and talk about it wherever I go to open people's eyes, because we are not there yet. The cabbage is still dead if it's pasteurized or whatever it is in the food chains. So it has a very large potential in front of us. And just to mention, it's a little crazy. I did 35 books. I don't know why, but when I find a subject that needs to be taken care of, I can't stop myself. So I also made a book called Baby Food. And it's actually, there's a large chapter in the foreword made by Tine Licht. That is, she's a gut expert, professor in gut, and knows about bacteria. And I asked her in a mail, "Hi Tine, would you please write the chapter that is called From Zero to 100 trillion? And the 100 trillion, it's of course a baby that comes out has 0. And what is the journey into 100 trillion of the right bacteria? What should you eat?" That was funny or interesting.
I have a baby, 3 months old baby, so I definitely.
In 1 month she will start, or he?
Yeah.
She will start eat, and it's quite important that you think diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think that's a question.
Mass. Yeah. All right. Now let's have your question. Come.
Both of you have touched on the potential for bacteria in human health. So I was just wondering, what specific projects do you have regarding that, and what is the potential for example, CO2 savings when you're integrating bacteria and fermented products in our bodies, and how exactly does that work? Like, how are you saving the planet through human health and bacteria?
That was actually my last question. The one question I had planned would be at the end, but let's go.
Maybe I can pick up on what Søren just ended with the babies and how important it is that they get the right diversity of microbes within the first year and 5 years of their life. So if they don't get it, they will have problems later in life related to asthma, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune diseases. So it's very important that we understand what type of microbes they need in those first years, where the body actually is trained to know what's not not the body and what's outside of the body, but what's beneficial for the body. So, and that communication is driven by the microbes and the body together. So I think that alone, saving so many sick people from being sick by entering very early with probiotics to create a healthy baby. I think that's maybe where we have the largest impact. It's more difficult when we are adults and our microbiota has established and balanced. Then it's more tricky to actually kick it out of imbalance into balance again. So that's more difficult, but it's something that we're studying to find out, can we help obese people, can we help diabetic people, and actually prevent them entering that stage in life by eating the right food and the right probiotics. And then we have the enzymes. Enzymes are very powerful agents because they can catalyze, and they are not used up in that process. They just keep working on it. So maybe we can find a combination of enzymes that degrade or make the nutrients available through the diet, and then the microbes, the probiotics, can work with that as well. So we can have synergies between that, and so 1 and 1 is no longer 2, but it's actually 4 by getting these synergies into act of the gut. So that's part of it for human health and animal health, basically.
And can that translate then into CO2 savings, like how you mentioned with chicken feed, that could translate into CO2 savings? Is it the same for humans as well?
I don't know the calculations on the human part, but saving lives and making it less expensive to live and be more healthy, I think that would have an impact, of course. But the most dramatic impact over the next 30 years will be that, how many is it? I can't remember. Millions of people will die from infections that cannot be treated. So we need to find solutions that can substitute the antibiotic effects that will no longer work on some of these infections. So if we want to save those lives, we need solutions, and biology is the answer for that. Microbes or otherwise using it.
Yeah, I could probably try to answer from my point of view. When you ferment a barrel of kraut, there's a tiny bit of oxygen inside, and that oxygen is actually poison for the process. So what the process does is to convert the oxygen into CO2. So that's actually not that good, but it's very, very tiny amount. But why I like fermentation is, of course, the bacteria, but it's also because when you do a harissa or a pepper mash or mushrooms or soya beans, you get a lot of umami. And umami is an engine for a well-tasting plant-based diet. So when we look into our ERP system, our Microsoft Business Intelligence, you can see it says 77.4 this week. That's our output in our 80-20 goal. So all our fermented stops helps our green vision. If we just put celery and cabbage and carrots in the boxes, people would quit us. But we actually know that they don't churn when we secure enough umami in the plant-based meals. So that saves a lot of CO2. You know that wheat is index 100 in EU standards in emissions. Red beef is a factor 50 compared to that, and then everything in between. So plant-based, like it starts with wheat, then you have roots, celery, etc., then cabbage, and then in the end of the plant-based world in emissions, it's spices and salad, etc. And then we start up with animal energy, and all the plant proteins is also in the very low end. So we need a much more plant-based diet, and fermentation is perfect for that. garum, soya, miso, etc. You need, and mushrooms here. They are the right engine.
Another perspective on the impact on the greenhouse effect, it's not only CO2, methane is also a big problem in that, and I can't remember the numbers, maybe around 15% of the greenhouse effect is from methane alone, and that's from cows burping and farting. So could we work on that with the microbes, the enzymes, fermented feed for the cows, then we might be able to actually lower that. So that would have a huge impact globally if we could find solutions for that. So I think we need to find those cases where we can have the largest impact with biology. Yeah.
Actually, I have one question for each of you. First of all, Novozymes. I've read that probiotics work differently for each body. So how does actually a capsule probiotic is good for everyone that takes it? And also for you, you've talked a lot about plant-based eating, and you say actually it's good, in terms of carbon emissions. How come you're still selling meat products, like packages with the meat?
Why we still sell them?
Okay, I can start. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The genetics of us and the animals and the plants have an effect on how the probiotics will work in your body. So it doesn't work on everybody, of course, but in the future we might be able to actually get a sample of your gut from a fecal sample and do the microbiome studies of that, and then guide you towards what microbe would actually benefit you, because you might have some pathogens that need to be fought by some probiotics, or it seems like you lack some polysaccharide degrading bacteria in your gut, so you should take these probiotics, then they will balance it out so you can actually get more out of your food, or don't get wrong fermentations in your gut. So that kind of thing we actually have in our American company. We have such a service where people can get a microbiota-based recommendations from their doctor, what they should eat, and maybe take some probiotics to help them. So we need some data to support more people. Otherwise, it's more trial and error. Not from our side, we could make trials where we see how does it affect a mixed population of people, and then we publish that, and then we use that as arguments for this works in this and that way. But of course, the more data we can get about each people on the microbiota genetics and maybe even the human genetics, we could guide people in a better way. Absolutely.
Yeah, and why we sell meat and fish, etc. That's a good question. If we didn't do that, we would stay as a very tiny company. We can see our colleagues in Denmark and abroad that it's very difficult to grow to a scale. And I would say the all-over impact that our business has is pretty big. Not as big as 20 million cars, but it's compared to the 350,000 meals a week plus B2B, etc. It's real impact. It's not just a tiny idea. And at the same time, we think as farmers and chefs and climate thinkers and in a global scale that animals is part of the system. You could say, yeah, then we are vegetarians and eat the eggs and the milk from the cows and clap the cow and let it die by itself. But that would be very expensive as a concept. It's not a for-profit idea. It's perhaps a beautiful idea. But they are, with the nutrition they give in the circular systems, we are biodynamic farmers and source a lot of organic, but also biodynamic. And when we farm ourselves, we are biodynamic farmers. It's closed circuits, and it's very interesting to see how that works. Take a conventional farm. It imports a lot of fertilizers, and fertilizers in a conventional scene is 8% of the emissions on planet Earth. So it's a lot of energy that goes in that direction. And that at the same time, it's not interesting for the soil and for the soil quality to take in that fertilizer. It would like compost. So we do a lot of compost. Right now it's in open systems that are kind of 500 meter long rows with a lot of bacteria, and it's actually a fermentation process that happens there. So we grow soil instead of conventional farms that harvest soil. And it's actually one of my American friends, Howard Shapiro, he says, United States soil is totally fucked. I don't want to work with that anymore. It's fucked. It's dead. It's dying. So you see erosion all over the planet. We need to take care of the soil. Could we do, that's one of the ideas we're looking into in our, it's called Planetary Impact Ventures, our tiny investment company. Also PIV translated. We're looking on some very clever folks from Denmark that in closed machineries do big scale compost where they actually capture the methane and the ammoniac and the water and the heat for the houses, and then the rest product is damn good compost with a lot of bacteria inside. So I think that you need this compost, but you also need the shit from hens and cows and etc. etc. So the animal, they actually play a role to secure the balance. If you look at 12 billion people on planet Earth in 2050, if we are getting there, I don't hope. And an 80-20 formula that could actually be balanced.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a grasp of the diversity of the potential of bacteria and the use of bacteria. And the sense that I get is that we are still in the beginning of the journey to really understand how it can be used in the different dimensions and be implemented and adapted to different systems. Whatever it is, right now, I think the focus has been so far in Denmark, as far as I know, for somebody who's not from this field, is within the food and enzymes. And now we're going to the health, and we're looking to how we can integrate that into food for animals, so they fart less, and all of these things. So it's a really, really interesting journey. What I would like to ask you, we are a community builder as an organization, so we work connecting people, and we believe in partnership. So, and Camilla is not here to talk about Christine Hansen, but how are you collaborating? Are you collaborating together, first of all? And how do you see the collaboration in the ecosystem of now you're starting a bacteria investment, right? For supporting new startups, coming up with ideas. How are you working together, and how can people work with you?
So I can start. So we have an open innovation platform we call Hello Science, where we invite people in, students, entrepreneurs, to come in and look at problems and suggest problems to work with. And then we can guide them with our scientists. They get a mentor from our scientists if they have a...
I thought you would give them a bacteria.
No, yeah, we can also share some of the bacteria. But one of the most important things for startups and students is to learn from those who've done it before, so they can learn some tricks and know how to attack a scientific problem or build a business and so forth. So we deliver some mentors from our scientific community inside Novozymes, and in that way we interact with the students and entrepreneurs. So that's a good platform for doing that. But then, of course, with startups and larger corporations, we also have more specific collaborations, also seeking funding from the Novo Nordisk Foundation or innovation foundations, other foundations. So we establish a larger project together that we run for 3, 4, 5 years. And then business-wise, of course, we collaborate a lot with the big food companies, and also those selling over-the-counter health products as well. So we try to do business to business, but also business to consumer. So we balance both, especially within the human health. And with Søren, we did a very small project together. One of my passionate scientists approached Søren to talk about fermentation and how to do it, and could we do something, an event for our employees. But we would love to work more with Søren and his approach and do something big together.
I would also love to work with Søren.
Yeah, it sounds
and also with you.
great, right?
Actually, the project Novozymes did about letting kids harvesting wild bacteria into a bacteria bank. We have talked more times about how to integrate them in our fermentation side. Right now we ferment with itself, like let the plants just ferment, but you could actually flavor them in specific direction if you controlled it a little. But until now I've loved that it's just wild fermentation. When I did the kombucha setup, that's the first in Denmark, of course, in scaled version, I think we brew between 2,000 and 4,000 liters in a batch. I actually called both Novozymes and Christian Hansen to ask for the right yeast and bacteria to control it in the right direction, because it's well known that when you scale kombucha, it often produces alcohol, and that's not popular when kids drink it. But you recently did that, but it was too early days for you, so I found it in the United States. But I'm sure that one day we will do something together. We did your yearly staff party with families at Banegården. It was actually the first event ever over there. We hadn't either water or toilets or anything, but you were 500 people or something over there.
We had
it was a
great
very
time.
funny day making kombucha and fermentation and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We look forward to come and visit you because we live just here. So
Welcome.
Awesome. With these words, I would like to thank Søren. Mads, thank you so much for coming and sharing your work and your ideas and your thoughts with us. And I look forward to reading your books about baby food and so much more, and getting a little bit wiser on how bacteria can save us all. Thank you so much.